And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. And a quick check here of the Alaska weather-related headlines. We've seen the early signs of river breakup on the Kuskokwim. Yesterday afternoon, the ice is beginning to move out there of Nikolai. And this process will gradually unfold. Even though we've had some chillier than normal temperatures, they will tend to linger across the northern and western areas of the mainland. There still is a heavy snowpack across the central interior. So it's going to be a moment before we get warm enough temperatures to really help release that potential water load down the Yukon system. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Of note, the Fairbanks Weather Forecast Office said today that the Dawson Ice Bridge has been closed for the season just because of the fact the river there has begun to show signs of melting out and softening ice. Now, we are going to watch some North Pacific low pressure systems taking similar tracks as to what we've seen here for more than a month. Just basically coming out of the North Pacific, brushing the Aleutians or lower Bering Seas. Sometimes a piece will pull back up toward Bristol Bay, Kuskokwim Bay, or go out into the Gulf and affect areas along the Gulf Coast and into the Panhandle. And this pattern will continue into early May. So overall, the prospects, cooler temperatures, north and western areas of the mainland, near normal in the south and southeast, but wet conditions will prevail, especially along the Gulf Coast and into the Panhandle here for early May. Looking at a couple of the FAA webcams on this Wednesday afternoon. Deadhorse getting a little bit of light snow and fog. 15 degrees, that's where some of the colder air is. Temperatures along the North Slope and Arctic coast have generally been between 10 and 15 degrees this Wednesday morning and afternoon. Now in the Panhandle, Pelican is picking up some light rain and fog, 42. There is a round of moderate to even some locally heavier rain that'll move through there this evening and overnight as yet another push of moisture comes up out of the North Pacific, taking aim along that northeastern Gulf Coast, Yakutat, down through especially the northern and central Panhandle. But at this time, as of mid to late afternoon Wednesday, there are no watch warnings or advisories currently in effect for Alaska, though, as I said, there is some active weather along this region in the way of some moderate to locally heavy coastal rains for this evening and tonight, along with some gusty winds. And then we do have a little bit of weather with the frontal system working its way across areas of the eastern Aleutians up into lower Alaska Peninsula, but nothing as potent as the past couple of storms we've seen in the last 2 weeks. And there's still a little bit of light snow, a little bit of light blowing snow along areas of the Arctic coast. But in fact, we've seen some of the warmest temperatures this afternoon in the vicinity of the Anchorage Bowl, with high temperatures reaching the low and mid 50s. Very clearly, though, on the satellite imagery, you can see the circulation of this low in the Gulf and then that atmospheric river, the feed of moisture coming out from the North Pacific up there along the northeastern Gulf Coast and especially areas around Sitka and on up further north. Meanwhile, back to the west, we have a low center out towards Shimmy out there, far western Aleutians, and a front arcing ahead of it to just southwest of St. Paul, pushing through the eastern Aleutians. This front is not especially strong, but it has some breezy conditions and some precipitation with it. And then areas of the interior do have some clearing, and where there is sunshine, at least when you have this stronger later April sunshine, at least it feels good, as long as it's not too windy. And for late tonight, early on Thursday morning, we have this low pressure over the central Gulf with a occluded front wrapped around it. And so we expect either areas of rain or rain showers along the Gulf Coast into the Panhandle and then the coastal mountains. You get up in the mid-upper level elevations, still some accumulating wet snow. Back to the west, we have this weakening occluded front out through the lower Bering, pushing in through the eastern Aleutians. Thursday afternoon, the low in the Gulf continues to weaken, the occluded front pushing a little further north and east and weakening as well, but you'll still have lingering areas of rain or rain showers with, again, some snow showers or areas of snow in through the Wrangell St. Elias Mountains, eastern Kenai, along areas of the Alaska Range, 40-mile gold country, scattering of some snow and rain showers in northwest Canada, and then a band of some rain, especially moving up into the Alaska Peninsula with an area of a little mixed precipitation that could begin to push into areas of Bristol, but especially Kuskokwim, Nunavik Island as we get into Thursday afternoon and evening. By Friday, that system piece of it just kind of weakens. There's another little area of low pressure crossing the central eastern Aleutians, but notice these pressure values are pretty high. This time of year, we don't typically get the deeper, strong, windy lows, but still the pattern is such that weather systems are going to be coming up out of the North Pacific, crossing this region of the lower Bering or Aleutians, or coming up out of the North Pacific and getting into the Gulf or redeveloping in the Gulf. So it's going to keep this region here with more active and wetter weather here for the rest of the month into early May. And for Saturday, we have still weak lingering low pressure. It's kind of a little secondary low along this trough. There's that low crossing from the lower Bering toward the Alaska Peninsula. A couple of different spokes of low pressure associated with it. We have that kind of lingering low that hangs around the Alaska Range and another trough that just kind of hangs back into northwest Canada. So in these areas, we expect scattered snow showers that could be mixed with some rain. And then along areas of the west coast, there could be some patchy light snow or rain or a mix of the two, but not an especially significant system. Coldest temperatures Thursday morning are going to be places like Anaktuvuk, Adigan Pass. Anaktuvuk Pass this Wednesday morning was 13 below zero for the state's coldest temperature, and we could see a few sub-zero readings there again. Single digits above zero along the Arctic coast, Kaktovik through Point Lay, and then as we drop on down through the west side of the state, temperatures below freezing, generally in the 20s, and even there at St. Paul, 29. Anchorage Bowl should stay just above freezing, though. Get partly cloudy skies, areas on the east side of town, there could be a bit colder. And then throughout the Panhandle with the rain and clouds, temperatures at sea level generally around 40 or just above that mark for lows tonight. Thursday afternoon, we'll find highs 40s generally across the Panhandle. Lingering rain showers or areas of rain could reach 52 around Klawock or Craig. Back through the Anchorage Bowl, still up near 50, maybe 53 up there at Palmer and Talkeetna, 50-ish there around Gulkana, 40s up through the Tanana Valley. And again, coldest readings along the North Slope, Arctic coast, highs generally near 15 degrees. And for Friday morning, coldest temperatures again back up there around Anaktuvuk, Adigan Pass, a bit below zero. Single digits along the North Slope, Arctic coast. Below freezing, 20 there at Savunga at St. Lawrence Island, 32 at St. Paul, generally above freezing along the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians, and then back through south central, depending on cloud cover, some areas will dip a little below freezing, other spots will stay just above freezing, and then out through the Panhandle, we're looking at lows in the 30s to near 40 degrees. And high temperatures once again across the Panhandle on Friday should generally be in the 40s. A few spots could be around or just break 50, maybe Skagway, and again down here around Ketchikan and Craig. Readings still back around 50 degrees or so, or slightly higher there, the lower Matsu Valley at Palmer, Wasilla, as well as within the Anchorage Bowl, some locally warmer spots. And then up along the middle upper Tanana Valley from Fairbanks to Northway, you could see some highs easily 45 to 50 degrees. Still in the teens across the North Slope and along the Arctic coast, below freezing Seward Peninsula, 25-ish for Shishmaref and Savunga, and temperatures back up above freezing at St. Paul and into the lower 40s along the lower Alaska Peninsula, especially say around False Pass and extending down toward Unalaska. And then this is the temperature outlook now going into early May to close out April. This is the 6 to 10 day outlook. Very good likelihood that below normal temperatures are going to continue. Brooks Range, North Slope, Arctic coast. Maybe near normal temperatures south central surrounding Cook Inlet and Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula along the Gulf, and southern Panhandle. If we push it a few days further, 8 to 14 day outlook, May 1st through the 7th, the first week of May. Similar, maybe not quite as strong of a cold signature in the far north, but still below normal temperatures along northern and western areas of the mainland, especially along and north of the Brooks Range and west of the Yukon River. And then we find near normal temperatures along the Gulf Coast, areas of south central and the Panhandle. But as I mentioned, the likelihood of wetter than normal conditions because of these lows coming in from southwest to northeast with that moisture coming up from the North Pacific into the Gulf. We expect above normal precipitation. That would include all of the Panhandle, the southeast mainland, especially around the Wrangell, St. Elias Mountains, maybe eastern Alaska range, and even extending westward past Anchorage. And that continues, maybe not quite as strong of a signature for the first week of May, but nevertheless, the greatest likelihood of above normal precipitation here as we start May will be across the southeast mainland and in through the Panhandle.